It is January 2024, the start of a new year and a new semester. I am currently in my third year, or in the middle of my third year in the PhD program. And I talked about, I think in my last video, all the things that I've accomplished so far in the program, but you can't dwell on the past too much. You got to think about what you're going to be doing next and making sure that you keep working. Otherwise, you fall behind and 3 years pass and then no research is done. So in this video, I thought I would talk a little bit about a research project that I should have looked more over during the Christmas break. And I did look over it, but not as much as I should have. So it's kind of on the top of my to-do list so far. And I thought about maybe mentioning some 2024 goals, some New Year's resolutions that I can talk about. Maybe I'll get you guys some ideas, I don't know. But let's look at the math paper. So this paper was recommended to me to read by my advisor about convex bodies. This is on arXiv. You can download this for free if you're interested in reading the paper itself. It's about 18 pages, I think. I did not read all 18. I read a good bit and was taking notes over it, but this is the paper. It has a pretty whimsical name. It's called If You Can Hide Behind It, Can You Hide Inside It? And so roughly speaking, this is what the paper is about. I kind of condensed it into a few lines here about like what they're trying to show. The notation that I've used here is not the same notation that they use, and it's also not generalized. The author does he does a better job of generalizing it, is what I'm saying. So in this case, I'm only looking in 3 dimensions, R3, because my advisor likes to keep things not D-dimensional. He says, do it in R3 or R2, just look at those cases and then worry about that later. Do little bits. Don't try and prove the whole thing yourself. You may run into a problem or whatever. So here's what the statement says. You have 2 convex bodies in R3 called K and L. And we assume that for any SO3 rotation, phi, so by SO3 rotation, what I mean is if this is my body, then if I apply phi to it, maybe it rotates and looks like this. And I should also mention that it's centered at the origin. Or, okay, it's not centered at the origin, but you spin it about the origin. There's a point inside, so it may as well be the origin. So maybe this is a rotation, this is a rotation, this is another one. You get the idea. So for any SO3 rotation, there exists a translation vector T inside the subspace 001 perp, meaning that we are looking at the subspace that is orthogonal to the North Pole vector is essentially why I call it N here. So if you look at the XYZ coordinate space, we're really looking at the XY plane in that space, because this vector here is really just the normal that points upward. So you're looking at that flat plane. So you're saying that for any rotation, there exists a translation vector T such that the following occurs. If you take K and you spin it around in space, and then you project it onto the XY coordinate plane, so you're essentially looking at its shadow. If you translate this shadow by T, then it will fit inside the shadow of L. That's more or less what it's saying. And then the question that the author of the paper, Daniel Klein, proposes is that is K necessarily a subset of L? Because what you're saying is that you can move the shadow such that the shadow of K fits inside the shadow of L. That's all this is saying. It looks technical, but it's really not. And what he shows in the paper is that no, not necessarily. You can find 2 convex bodies, K and L, that have this property, but K does not necessarily have to fit inside of L. And I'll give you a rough idea of how the proof goes. Well, not how the proof goes, but what my advisor told me how it works. And he didn't go into great detail. He wanted me to read the paper. But the idea is this. In one space, you have L is equal to, let me think, is it the ball or is it the special ball? The ball would have more volume, but you want K to have smaller, wait, now I'm confused. Okay, whatever, you want a ball, which we will call B. You know, you can call it the unit ball in R3 if you really want to. And then we'll let delta be the 3 simplex. And we're going to choose an epsilon between 0 and 1. And then the idea is that K is going to be equal to, I may have K and L flipped, I have to think about this some more. But you want K to be epsilon times the ball plus 1 minus epsilon times the simplex, where this is simply the set of all epsilon times x plus 1 minus epsilon times y, such that x is in the ball and y is in the simplex. So by definition, you know K and L have to be convex bodies. K has to be a convex body by how it's built in the definition of convexity. So let me think about this. You have to specify what kind of epsilon you want to choose. So what this does is it essentially gives you this this continuous space, if you want to think of it. Well, you get this continuous function of epsilon, where if epsilon is 0, then the ball disappears and you get only the simplex. And then as epsilon gradually, increases up to 1, you get less influence from the simplex and you just get the ball. So for an epsilon between 0 and 1, you kind of get this hybrid shape, whatever it looks like. And if you choose epsilon good enough, then you will get more shadow for less volume. So I think I got this flipped, right? Because you want a bigger shadow. So I think this does need to be flipped. So I want K to be the ball, right? Or am I confused? Why is my brain not working? Because you'll get less volume with K, but you'll get more shadow. And I want the shadow of K to be able to fit inside the ball. So these two need to be flipped. You'll get more shadow with L, so yeah, the shadow of K has to fit inside the shadow of L. But you get less volume, and if you get less volume, then this can't be true. So that's the inspiration for this. Obviously, you need to throw in more details to figure out what epsilon works there, and you need all that goes in here. But this was essentially what my advisor had described to me. And then from this, this is, if you want to read the details, again, here's the paper. But the question that I am looking at is a related question that is heavily inspired from this. And as far as we know, it's open. So instead of looking at translation vectors, instead we're looking at rotations of shadows. So now instead, we assume that for any SO3 rotation phi, we can find an SO2 rotation in the plane called psi, such that if you rotate the shadow of the projection of K onto the plane, it can fit inside this projection. Wait a minute, I didn't do this right. I need to project the shadow. I forgot to project. Yeah, something like that. So you can project this onto the plane and then rotate that. So you do have to rotate. Ooh, I'm an idiot. You don't want this here. Very sloppy. You can tell it's the start of the semester. I'm still on Christmas mode. So you have this property, and then the question is K necessarily a subset of L? And my idea is no, and I was playing with something, and I showed it to him, and he says, I think what you're saying could work, but you have to play with the details. So I was pretty happy about that I was actually able to say something that impressed him to some degree. So my main goal is I got to get this PhD done, so I want to read this paper, try and write something up and show it to him, which leads me into my next topic, if you will, is what kind of goals did I have for 2024? And 2 should definitely be 1, but as you've heard me mention and complain on this channel that I need to get into shape. My goal is to lose about 50 pounds because I'm going to the Half Dome in Yosemite. And when I was in Banff, Canada, if you saw some of those videos, we went hiking, and those those trails kicked my butt. And they weren't like extreme trails or anything. Like I only walked for, I don't know how long I walked for, maybe like 20 minutes. And I was like, okay, this is a problem. So at the top of the list, I'm going to try and prioritize health and fitness, drop some weight. I've been going to the gym. I've been eating better. I'll say I've been eating good. So I think I'm probably down maybe 5 pounds, I guess, not to be greedy. I would just say 5 pounds. And then, you know, write a paper, get candidacy done. So the way my program works is that after you do qualifying exams, you try and find something that you want to work on with an advisor. And then when your advisor decides that you're ready, you can go do candidacy, which they only really let you do when they know you're ready and you're going to pass it. So it's low stress. You know, there's a couple people that sit in the committee room and they listen to what, you know, your idea is and what you want to do next. So it shouldn't be, you know, something that you're stressed out about, not like the qualifying exam. And speaking of which, on the very first day of the spring semester, I had a friend of mine in the department. There's a chance that he'll watch this video. I don't know if he'll get to this part. But he did his candidacy on the very first day of the semester. And like I spoke to him like minutes before he went and did it. So I hope it went well. I know it did. He wasn't worried. And I'm positive that he's done. So if you're watching this, congratulations, my guy. And then these 4, yeah, number 4, I know I said stocks, but number 4, I got to get those measure theory videos done. It's just a matter of figuring out how those videos are going to work. I'm not going to make any excuses. It's on the list. I'll get to it when I get to it. And then stocks, you know, I've always been kind of interested in the stock market and playing those. You know, you've heard me mention on the channel that I kind of, if it doesn't work out in academia, then I'll just go into finance. So I'm trying to get my feet wet with the stock market. I've been trading stocks on and off for about 3 years, so I'm not completely foreign to it, but I'm by no means, you know, Warren Buffett in the making. I wish I was, because I'd kind of like to have his money, but whatever. But that's on there. And then number 5, write scripts, because this is a little known fact about me, is that about, how many years has it been? Like 9 years ago now. I was an avid movie watcher, and I really liked movies, specifically like the artsy films and classic cinema, like Godfather and stuff like that. And I've always wanted to write scripts in that nature. And I wrote a couple at the time, and I was proud of them, but, you know, I was only like 20 or so, 21 at that time when I wrote those scripts. And I'd like to get back into it, but I know it's like way down the list here. So, because I got to get this stuff done before I can start playing. But I'd like to get back into it because I do enjoy it, and I do think it helps you organize your thoughts better. It helps you be a better speaker, which, you know, is kind of laughable coming from me because I think I started like 5 times in this video, but it's fun. So it's on the list. That's why I'm putting it there. I think my goal would be to maybe write 6 short scripts this year, but I don't know if that's going to happen. Usually it takes me like, if I know what I'm doing, it'll take me like maybe 2 or 3 weeks to write a somewhat readable script and then just casually go back over it to make it nicer. But it's number 5 on the list because these 2 are the most important, and then these 2 down here are the next important, and then 5 is right there. So it's been a while since I made a video. It's because I've just been taking it easy and trying to enjoy my free time, because last semester I was worked pretty hard. But I'm well rested now. I've started eating better, going to the gym, doing all the things I know I should be doing, and I'm feeling a lot better.